Why, hello there. Thanks so much for joining us for the Long Comics Book Club, a bi-weekly podcast about long comics, also known as manga and graphic novels. My name is Shane. I'm the older brother. I'm joined by Spence, the younger brother. To start the episode off, I like to ask Spence a question inspired by the long comic we'll be talking about. So, Spence, who is your favorite X-Men?
Oh, it's Nightcrawler. And I need to spend zero time thinking about this. This has been true for my entire life.
Immediate
Yeah.
knowledge, immediate
Yes.
answer,
No,
no
don't even.
question,
Yeah. Nightcrawler's the
hands down.
best.
The Blue Elf.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good answer. I was thinking about it, probably my answer as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
I mean,
Interesting.
why? Maybe we'll get into that shortly.
Yeah, because hey, what do you know? He just happens to be a very important character in this one we're doing. Yeah.
That's true, because the one that we are talking about today, of course, is X-Men. God Loves, Man Kills, which is the long comic that we read over the past 2 weeks and that we're going to be talking about today. If you're not familiar with our podcast, we take the first half of the show to talk about the long comic we read over the past 2 weeks. We'll give our reactions, takeaways, discussion points, book club things, and then for the second part of the show, we'll chat about some of the other visual media we've consumed recently. And to make sure you avoid spoilers, we'll include time codes in the episode description. And of course, we'll then end the show with Spence introducing the long comic for the next podcast, which will be coming out on October 25th. And to be notified when the podcast is out, you can follow our Instagram or Blue Sky at Long Comics Book Club. You can also find us on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram for our short form clips if you don't have time for the full episode and just want a quick highlight. We also have all of this on our LinkTree, including the revitalization of the Discord. Very exciting. I had to shut that down for a small period of time because life would not allow me to manage any sort of chat channel, even if it's normally quieter. But hey, we're back up and running. So if you want to join in this conversation, jump on the Discord. And while you're online, head on over to VesperiaComics.com because Spence, of course, is the owner and proprietor of Vesperia Comics, located at 1935 West Broadway in Vancouver, British Columbia. Spence, how's it going at the shop?
Things are going well at the shop. Yeah, it's heading into the winter season. Things have been popular. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary, just a couple months away from that. So
Wow, are you going to do any sort of celebration?
probably not because it's going to be like the start of December when that happens. So we're gonna have a lot of other stuff going anyway. But
Yeah,
yeah.
you have enough going on. You don't need to. That's fair. But maybe we'll circle back at the 10-year anniversary. See what you're doing for your for
Yeah.
your decade
I'll
your
I'll I'll
decade-long birthday.
I'll put that on my calendar.
Throw it on there. But of course, Vesperia Comics, your go-to place to pick up all of your manga, graphic novels, figurines, trading cards, if you're in Vancouver or want to order for Canada-wide shipping. Also, there
For the
is
record, right now though, might have to wait a little bit as the postal strike
mm,
currently going. So
yeah, pause on
figure,
that.
figuring out what to do about the shipping. We'll get back
Yeah,
to you.
we'll report back. In the meantime, come on down in person. 1935 West Broadway. Come on into Vancouver just to visit Spence at Vesperia Comics. And of course, there's also, I think you have this as an anthology. You don't have the book itself, but
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills. What we're talking about today. It is an older graphic novel, 1982, I believe we said.
I think
Um,
that sounds a little later, but it's from the 80s.
yeah,
Uh
it is 1982. I was right.
82. Yeah, wow. Because it's I believe the third graphic novel that Marvel ever put out.
Wow, that's a fun fact.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we do not have Spence is not selling this ancient tome, but it is part of a collection that's a very available at Vesperia Comics if you want to come by and pick it up in case you haven't read it yet and you're interested. Swing on over, check it out because if you want to avoid spoilers, this will be the time to look at the time codes and jump ahead. If you haven't read the book but want to listen anyways, that's great. And maybe this conversation will help you decide if it's worth picking up. So, no more chatter. X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills, the book club book of the week.
Mm.
Spence, why did you choose this for our long comic to talk about?
So it's kind of crazy we've gone this long without having to do the X-Men. Like the X-Men are such a huge part of comic book history, and there's so much great stuff by them. Figured it was time to do an X-Men one, and let's do one of the like their first graphic novel fit like one because it's one I like a lot. I think it's a very interesting, very historically relevant, very socially relevant kind of comic to read.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're certainly, I would say this is the most explicitly social commentary,
Yes.
probably what we've read. And I sort of think that tends to be the case with just X-Men in general. That's sort of the purpose of them.
So see, here's the fun fact about that. That was not the case until this comic book came out.
What was the point of them?
Well, like this was really the first one to really take like let's treat the treat X-Men like they're like a real minority group, not just like a like because we'll be going more into the whole Chris Claremont stuff and all that. But like the X-Men took a long time to become what we consider the X-Men.
Hmm. And this was sort of what you see as the starting point of that.
Well, this is the starting point of one aspect of what the X-Men, the social commentary side of the X-Men. And
Hmm.
basically everything is Chris Claremont's fault, like not fault. Everything good about the X-Men is because of Chris Claremont, and this is just one of those aspects of it.
Wow. There you go. Way to go, Chris Claremont, and also illustrations by Brent Eric Anderson. Uh, that's a quite the accolade to be giving to them. So, for those that haven't read but are listening, the plot to this, sort of in a nutshell, it's a lot more complicated, but it's essentially there is this evangelical preacher named Stryker who wants to eliminate all mutants, wants to purge them. And so he is trying to advocate for the elimination of all mutants. And that they he, he kidnaps Professor Xavier, Storm, and Cyclops to that end to try and create a machine that will use Professor Xavier's power to destroy all mutants. And then the other X-Men stop him.
Yeah, same plot of X2.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, again, I don't remember X2, but I'll
yeah.
take your word for
So,
it.
so yeah, so X2, it's very loosely based on it. So it's the same. Stryker's the villain of that one, but he's not
Mm,
an evangelical preacher in it. He's like a military man.
that's probably them trying to play it safe. I
Yes.
also assume it did not start with the murder of children.
No, it did not. And Kitty Pryde never says the N word in the movie either.
That's for sure for the best. My goodness. Yeah. Wow, this one was really surprising in a number of different ways. So the plot, I mean, what it sounds like is pretty simplified. I think it's that there is a lot it is a short graphic novel is the first thing. It's
Yeah.
not the longest thing in the world, but it does certainly introduce that idea of like elimination of race or culture because it doesn't align with your own personal beliefs and
Yes.
s- social systems, which is certainly still very relevant today, um, which makes this very much a evergreen kind of theme and why the X-Men, it makes sense that they would keep that idea of uh like discrimination and prejudice and hate as the central theme to the X-Men. Because the of note, the X-Men are what are mutants. And so I always thought that was interesting that so this is different than people with superpowers. Is that how they differentiate them? The difference between like
Yeah.
superpowers and mutants?
Yes. The whole idea is that like they're born with a special gene. They give them the X gene. And if you're not born with the X gene, you're not a mutant, no matter what your superpowers are.
Hmm.
Some people point out that this makes no sense in the Marvel universe, that why people would hate mutants but also love Captain America, even though they both have superpowers. But I always thought it was kind of the theory that like racism doesn't supposed to make sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Isn't that the sad truth of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the X-Men are a bunch of mutants who, despite people such as Striker not liking them, want to try and save humanity.
Yes, save a world that hates them. It's their
Yeah,
classic.
exactly. Which was really interesting in this one because it really felt like the world didn't hate them. It was just like just Striker specifically.
Yeah, but they do go a little bit into the whole, and that's going into the whole. So like the idea that like the X-Men are different, they're outcasts, like they're not part. That's always been part of the thing. But the whole idea of
Mhm.
like humanity actively does not like mutant, like treats them like yeah, like is truly like racist against them, like wishes for their genocide. That really didn't come up until after this graphic novel. So I think it was kind of like played down a little bit in this one
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
it was.
because in this one, when the cops are being like, "Man, this guy's going too hard after these mutants," and,
Yeah,
and like it's a cop that saves the day and shoots the Reverend.
yeah, the shoots.
Like
Yeah,
this is interesting because my
yeah.
understanding
Well,
was that law enforcement is very normally known to be oppressive of those sort of targeted groups, but
yeah, yeah. I guess
good
this
news
is going to
is
be an
that
interesting podcast today about these kind of themes. Haven't had to do this yet, but yeah, it's also a different take of like how people looked at this kind of stuff in the '80s and stuff.
Mhm. No, well, I just mean like yeah, certainly different in the 80s. I just more meant that in general, my remembering from the X-Men in the films is that usually it's like them versus military. Like
Yeah,
typically like law enforcement and like those government systems are like anti-X-Men, not like supporting them and like cheering them on. Uh
that's yeah.
that
Yes.
was that was my that was what I was talking to, but also the other thing. Um Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very interesting then also, because then of course you get the religious aspect, uh, which is I think handled very well in this. I think they're very careful with it.
Yes.
Uh, you can certainly tell that Christopher Claremont is being very intentional that he's not stating this as a
Yeah.
blanket.
Yes. This is not an r/atheism graphic novel.
That's that's a Reddit subreddit for anyone that's unfamiliar with r
Yeah.
slash.
R/r/r/slash atheism has a very bad reputation for all the worst kinds of atheists come from there. But yeah, but I think that's a good point exactly. Also about like faith and stuff is by making Nightcrawler a central character is a big part of that. Because in this, as in classic X-Men, he's always been like the good Catholic pious guy.
Hmm. I missed that in here.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
But oh
They
wait,
make
he
reference to that about yeah,
right. And he
yeah,
makes I think he like quotes the Bible at some point.
yep,
And but then at the same time he's often the one that's seen as like the devil because he
yeah.
looks
Well,
like a
th
devil.
that's the fun part about Nightcrawler as a character is he's looks like a literal devil, but he's like super religious, super charming. He's like a swashbuckling, dashing rogue. He's like the nicest guy on the X-Men.
hmm Who can also teleport and has
Yep.
a dexterous tail that he can use.
Yeah.
Or does he
He
have the
likes.
tail in this one? I don't know if I remember
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh yeah, he definitely has the tail.
Oh, there we
I
go.
I have no like yeah, I don't remember if he specifically uses it at any point, but he's always got the
He's always got the tail. There you go. Yeah. So the main the main mutants that we have in this one. So we have Professor Xavier, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops, Ariel, and Magneto. And so
This is that
Ariel,
very brief point of time when they were still trying to figure out the name for Kitty Pryde.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those who might be like, who's Ariel? Shadow Cat is how
Yeah.
we know her more generally. Still Kitty Pryde, just happens to go by
Yeah.
Ariel in this one, which is a very strange name that makes no sense. Um,
Also, Magic as well is the other one other mutant who takes a big part in this. Magic with a
mag
K. Colossus's
magic?
little sister,
Oh, Ilyana?
Ilyana. Yeah, her mutant name is Magic with a K.
Oh,
Magik. Magic.
what is, I didn't notice her have any, I thought they said that she wasn't a mutant in this.
And maybe at this point she's not a mutant. I don't know.
But she has to be a mutant because she was born.
It,
She can't get her abilities later.
Ma-
That's not
Ma-
how this works.
yeah, well, that is true, but nothing is more powerful than the Marvel editors and their ability to,
Change story.
yeah, like,
Got
good
it.
God, try to figure out if Quicksilver's a mutant right now. I think he's been a mutant and not been a mutant like half a dozen times.
Interesting. The other person in this, of course, is Magneto, the infamous Magneto. What's your take on the way Magneto is portrayed in this?
I think it's interesting because it's always been, because this is once again going more into like this is really the first thing where Magneto was like treated as kind of not necessarily a villain.
Hmm.
Yeah,
He was
like
very much not a villain in this.
no, yeah,
He,
he's not a villain at all. But like in canon or whatever, he was still like a villain at this point in the story. And
hmm,
like they had already done his Holocaust backstory was already done at this point. But it hadn't like ever really been like gone far because like if you read original X-Men, first appearance of Magneto, he's a much like a proverbial mustache twirling villain.
hmm,
He didn't really have much depth to him, and then later they added the whole Holocaust backstory to give him a little more depth and like him like why he feels this way about humans.
hmm.
Yeah. So, but then this comes out, and they're like, okay, he'll work with the X-Men now, which is also fun fact. X2 is also part of that. So they have to work with
Yeah,
that. They have to work with Magneto now.
it all ties around. That's terrifying that they're like, we need to add more depth to this character. Let's make him a Holocaust survivor. So like you, there's
Yeah.
always going to be an element of you that's going to feel awful for poor Magneto. I mean, what's interesting about this one is that so it is that he has this villainous backstory, but he is very much a hero in this. And that element of because is it that he wants to eliminate all non-mutants, or is it that he just wants what is Magneto's driving force and to what extreme does it go?
Yeah. So Magneto's whole shtick is he believes mutants are superior, are the Homo superior. They are the
Yeah.
better. They are better than humanity. And depending on writer and story and stuff, that goes from like, so he'll just like stand above you and watch you all destroy yourselves, or like, or he will eliminate all humans in order to make the yeah, or he'll
Hmm.
eliminate all humans to make it so mutants are the best. Yeah, mutants are on top.
Got it. Yeah, because in this one it's very much on the lighter side.
Yeah, it's very much
Uh,
like he doesn't like humans. He's not going to help them, but he's not like going full on. Yeah, he's not in genocide mode.
no, that's for sure not. Uh, yeah, this one, I mean, bringing up his Holocaust backstory, I guess when I was thinking of 80s and comics and superhero comics specifically, I wasn't thinking it was going to be like super intense. I was thinking it was going to more be like a kid's comic kind of situation, but there's some really brutal things in this.
Oh,
Um, like I said at the start, the opening, the first scene being the murder of children and like lynching them and like hanging them from a swing set is extremely dark. Then
yeah,
like Stryker's weird backstory where he like murders his wife and child, like that came absolutely out of the blue. And then like then the filming the death of Anne falling off the stage on live television. It's really rough, like way heavier than I was anticipating. Was that
yeah.
sort of the theme of the 80s? Was that always how
Well,
X-Men were? Is
that
that
that was the 80s where now this was a thing in comic books. So like
hmm,
in the 70s and all that, comics were so like this is the era of now they were trying outside of like underground stuff, they were trying to do more mature, more interesting, more yeah,
hmm,
less beat up the bad guy of the week kind of stories. So yeah,
hmm.
like 4 years later we've got Watchmen kind of thing.
Oh wow. Okay. Right. Well, this is certainly heads in that direction with the intensity of it and the heaviness of some of those story elements that are pretty intense. But uh yeah, it really is interesting because that part, especially just thinking about the first scene, it really is tricky because it immediately makes you hate the villain.
Yes.
and that there's no, they're not just irredeemable immediately, which is not my favorite thing. Because I think there's something really interesting, like when you're talking about Magneto. And so he's super interesting because his, like you were saying, he's a Holocaust survivor. And so that's sort of why he hates humanity. And that you understand, can empathize, but still not agree. There's no way anyone supports Stryker. You just can't.
Yeah,
You have no grounds to support him.
yeah, and like the idea he's supposed to be like the racist straw man to like truly to give our example of like here is the worst of humanity, like in our little racism allegory or
Hmm.
whatever ism you want. That's kind of the nice thing about X-Men. They can be whatever kind of ism you want.
Hmm.
Like whatever marginalized group they can like kind of stand in for.
Hmm.
And yeah, so like gotta show the make it so the absolute worst of them doesn't you can't relate to them.
Hmm. So then which ism do you think they're standing in for in this book?
I think in this one it's very much like direct racism. Like
I think
we're
it's
go,
racism.
you know,
Hmm. I was
because
wondering if
like
it was homophobia.
yeah, that's always because that's often considered the closer one for X-Men like matched to homophobia pretty well because the whole like you're born with it, you don't know like anyone could just their kid could be that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that's always kind of fit a little better. But in this one, I guess it's just more like the beginning with like the effective lynching at the start and stuff. It really does
Yeah, that
bring in racism as the
is the main one.
yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's also very interesting how during his speech, he specifically says he's not racist and he's not hateful. He just hates mutants. So I was like, well,
Yeah, but I think it's an interesting. It's always a good way to look at like how different racist people will
justify their
justify themselves.
cause.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
interesting.
I don't believe the character. Like the character is clearly a monster, but I believe he is honest when he says he's not racist. He loves all humans, but only humans.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the way they justify their means.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that comes back to the title again, which I had been clowning on in our last podcast when you introduced this as X-Men God Loves Man Kills is a ridiculous title, but I actually think it's pretty good. It's interesting, at least.
Yeah, like
And
it is a mouthful of a title, but I do think it's a good title.
yeah, I think it kind of gets at what this story is about, as well as, again, I think it's sort of Christopher Claremont covering himself a little bit because I imagine that the religious communities would not be happy. Kind of gives him a little bit of a hall pass right away to not
I
get
guess
into
realize we're
trouble.
like
But
right coming on to Satanic Panics right around this time.
there you go. Yeah, perfect timing. Uh, and so I can understand it for that. I mean, it is still very goofy, but it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
like fundamentally, the X Men are always going to involve like a guy shooting lasers out of his eyes. So like,
mhm,
it always have to like balance the goofiness with the
the serious
commentary.
tones. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Two things there. So first, I also think what's good is that it is the reminder that I think it's really bringing into focus again that people are using whatever they want to justify their immoral actions. So, like, God isn't the one that's causing for the elimination of mutants, it's someone misplacing that word uh, and using that as a means of evil. So, those that believe in God see God loves, and it's when people are choosing to use God for violence, it's because of the man themselves, uh, which I think is fair and sort of an evergreen statement. I don't think anyone would disagree that God loves, man kills. I think sort of no matter where you fall in the spectrum of
Yeah.
religious belief, that's sort of always
Yeah.
true.
Basically,
Uh,
I'm sure some to bring back the art/slash atheism, people would disagree with the whole God loves part, but we'll not worry.
but
If you
we're not
actually
gonna.
believe in the religion, that's pretty much universally agreed upon part.
Yeah. But then the second part, Cyclops' lasers. I don't understand. I thought his lasers cut through like everything.
No, no, there's no. So his lasers have they don't have heat. They're entirely concussive force. Yeah, so
So
they
it's
don't
like the
have
same
heat.
as a
Yeah,
punch.
yeah, they're like punching you.
Okay, so he like bounces his punches off the wall. until
Yeah,
it punches
but yeah,
Xavier in the face.
yeah, but
Okay.
they'll also they'll bounce off. They're still lasers, so they'll still bounce off like reflective surfaces.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, technically, his eyes are a portal to a different dimension that's constantly shooting out the light.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting uses of power in this one. So, like, using Xavier's telepathy as a mind blast beam. Like, I didn't know he could do that. Uh, and then Magneto creating like shockwaves with his electrical powers. I didn't know he could
Yeah.
do that, but
Magneto's the king of like he has what how you can use magnetic power however you want. Like, don't worry about it. You
yeah,
can just. I kind of think he's cooler when he's just like I love the idea of Magneto's useless in a like in a room full of plastic. Magneto is truly actually has no powers, but the comic books normally are like no, he can like change the magnetic polarity of your body to like do stupid stuff like that.
right. So it's sort of like movie abilities versus comic book
Yeah. Well,
abilities.
movies and the Ultimate Universe as well, also. So both the movies and the Ultimate Universe did uh the jail cell made of plastic,
Mhm.
and those were I liked those, but
Yeah, I think that that's more reasonable than just like this guy is invincible, and sort of
yeah,
can control all matter. 'Cause the control all matter guys are never that interesting.
yeah.
Um, okay, but before we move off the title, I when I was feeling very silly about it, I wrote a poem. I wrote a beat poem that I think
Okay,
it's important that you listen to.
I will.
Okay. Uh, or no, what is it? What's it called? I wrote a spoken word poem inspired
Mm.
by the title of this graphic novel. Yeah. Okay, you ready? Okay,
Ready?
here I go. X-Men. God loves. Man kills. Xavier beams X-Men teams. Cyclops rays. Stryker prays. Night crawls and falls. Ariel doesn't have to feel Colossus steel. Changing forms, storms. Magneto magnetize, Quinjet flies, Jean Grey dies. Phoenix rise. Jesus saves, Judas betrays. Whales sing, diamond rings, ain't nothing but a G thing. Words rhyme, everybody hurts. Sometime. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. that's my that's my B poem inspired by X-Men God Loves Man Kills. Uh
Yeah.
I hit on all the big names that are included in this book.
Yep.
Nightcrawler, Colossus, Jesus, they're all in there.
Yeah. You even went
Everyone's
a little off
included.
script with the whole Phoenix thing.
That's true. I thought Jean
I
Grey was going to be in this one, and then she
I'm
just
pretty sure she's
wasn't.
dead at this point.
There you go. Jean Grey dies. I called it. I was just saying Quinjet flies. In retrospect, it should have been Magneto Magic Carpet Ride. That's one of those moments where like, okay, this is the goofy part. This is the goofy part where he just flies around on a door and they call it a magic carpet. I mean, it's supposed to be fun to some degree, so I appreciate it for that. Um, but yeah, I thought the story was good. It certainly got a little bit of a different pace to it, where it feels like a lot of it's kind of irrelevant until a certain point.
Yeah,
Like the
it is very much a comic of the 80s. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of time to just like, yeah, characters kind of like getting into like kind of pointless fights and lots of
Yeah, let's go to the
lots
training
of
room and
yeah, lots of narrating what they're doing at the time.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of it. It's a very dialogue heavy. There's a
Yeah.
lot of reading in this for it being pretty short. It's a lot of text. Uh and I guess they do come from a place of like if you're not familiar with these characters, let's try and explain them a little bit. But as someone that was somewhat familiar with the characters, I if anything got more confused by some of the things that I was seeing and reading. Like I don't understand Kitty Pryde abilities. So she
She
can
can
phase through things, but also when she's phasing, she can like fly through them. So like she can
yeah.
like fly up banisters by phasing in them. Like I don't
Yeah, well she can like
understand how
freely
that
move through
works.
objects she's phasing through. She still has to breathe, so she can't do it for indefinitely.
Yeah, that's just
And
very confusing.
yeah, and I think they go into the whole thing that like her powers screw with electronics, so if she ever phases through something electronic, it gets destroyed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. Yeah, I mean, why is it specifically electronics that gets destroyed? I don't know. That's interesting. But like, so if it's raining, can she just like fly?
Go full on troll physics, cover herself in oil. Uh,
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe. I didn't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't
That's
think so, but
extremely
I think she could like
confusing.
go up a waterfall if she wanted to.
But what? Okay. I guess because there's less air in between. No, the air in
Yeah.
between doesn't matter. But
Well, I think it's because I don't know.
it has to be, maybe it has to be solid matter that she can face through. I don't
Yes,
know.
probably. I don't know. It's also like, can if Cyclops looks down, can he fly?
Yeah, right. Because he put himself backwards. I mean, I'm sure that's probably been done
Oh, it's 100% been done, but like, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, a bunch of goofy things. I don't know. I think
yeah,
that's
and
why it's like keeping it simple. I think that's why it's like Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, Wolverine, great. You understand their abilities. They all logically check out. It's when you start to get into the other ones where it's like, I
yeah,
don't know, we're taking some liberties here.
yeah. But also, it's like, what combination of DNA gives you the power to control the weather?
Yeah, that
Storm's
doesn't.
always been like,
No, it doesn't really make any sense. I guess a lot because all the other ones are sort of like physical,
yeah,
uh, uh, like abilities connected to your genetic makeup. Yeah, what are you born with that lets you control the
yeah.
weather? That's a good
What's
question.
the combination of T and G cells that like what sequence of that gives you weather controlling
Yeah,
powers?
lets you call lightning from your hands, but just from the sky. Yeah, world works in mysterious ways, I guess. But
Yeah.
uh, I mean, it is really the story is mostly focused on, I would say, Xavier being the main focus and Magneto. It's mostly those two that this story is
And,
really about.
and Kitty Pryde, as she often does, acts as like the audience stand-in.
Yeah, which is why it's confusing when she's called Ariel and she says the N-word and her abilities don't make sense. I think Kitty's probably the weakest part of this. But not to say that it's a weak comic. I think I just was confused by her in this. I was having a hard time getting a read on what was going on with Kitty in this book. Also note again that we're calling her Kitty because Ariel is such a terrible superhero name.
Kitty Pryde, like I think her go-to name is Shadowcat, but often enough they're like everyone just Kitty Pryde's a great. It's like Jean Grey. Technically, her superhero name is like the Phoenix or Marvel Girl, but most people just call her Jean Grey.
Hmm. Well, she's only the Phoenix after she dies, I assume. Isn't
It,
that?
with
Oh
this,
no, it's Phoenix and Dark Phoenix. That's what it
yeah,
is.
well, she's Phoenix when she
Mm.
has the Phoenix Force inside of her.
Oh man, things that we have not had to get into yet.
Yeah.
But that anyone interested in the X-Men, there you go. Know that there's a whole world of weirdness going on with this cohort of superheroes. Um, and then the art in this, I think it's very 80s. It's sort of what.
I think it's nicely like it's very soft. It's like very lack of like hard lines and stuff. I think it kind of fits really well.
Mhm. In what way do you mean?
I think it's just like because it's almost like looks almost like a watercolor painting at times. It like
It
makes it
does.
yeah, it like kind of fits the whole more spiritual nature of it. Like
Mhm.
I guess more point, it doesn't really like look like a comic book. Like it's not your first idea of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because what's your first idea of a comic book comic book?
I think it's like truly like comic books, like thick lines, like minimalist characters and stuff like that.
Mm.
Like enough that like a cartoon kind of thing,
Hmm.
like a
Okay.
cartooning.
Whereas this is more of like a Dick Tracy or whatever that MD comic strip is.
Rex
Uh,
Morgan,
Rex Morgan MD. Yeah, it's
but
more of.
even then, like Rex Morgan has like a lot of really thick lines and like,
Mhm.
but this is much more subdued and all that.
Doesn't have that. That's true. But there is a very important frame that I think is very funny in this one, which is when Stryker is saying, "Human, you dare to call that thing human? Is that going to
Yes.
work if I?" Yeah, that's not going to work. But
Yeah.
uh, I don't know if you realized. how much that looks like that pointing meme. Do
Oh,
you know the meme where they're like,
yeah.
it looks exactly like it.
Which is funny
Like,
too, because that's far and away the most famous panel of the comic book.
why? That's so
It
interesting.
kind of just gets used a lot for like comic
Is it
book. Yeah.
is it because it's a meme? Is it because
It's
it
not really like
looks
a full-on meme, but like, yeah, I bet you like you'll find someone using it as a reaction image on like an X-Men forum or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, because it for sure should be if it's not already. Because again, it looks just like the pointing meme. I imagine if this had come out in this generation, that for sure it would have been turned into an internet meme because you dare to call that thing human is just like absolutely primed for just roasting people. It's,
Yeah. But yeah, but
it's
it's
the
still like
perfect
it's a
setup.
nice it's a good thing about the whole about Nightcrawler and all that. About how Nightcrawler is a good person, even if
Yeah,
he doesn't look the part.
he doesn't look the part. That's true. Uh, and I understand why he's such a great character. Nightcrawler's a cool dude. Just trying to do his best with his blue skin and little elf ears.
Yep.
Uh,
He's only got three fingers on each hand.
I missed that part.
Yep.
He's a freak. No, poor guy. There you go. He's just doing his best.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um, and so where do you sort of see what do you think is the most important part of this that's come? Is it because do you think it's the most important because it started off graphic novels? Is it important because of the role that it played with where X-Men would go, or the way that we start looking at Xavier, or not Xavier, looking at Magneto?
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest and most important takeaway from this graphic novel?
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway is like making the X-Men like uh direct parallel to like real world social issues.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, because that's
there's
like
a lot of.
a huge part of them now is
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, there's not really any other comic that I can think of off the top of my head that sort of does the same thing that they do. Because when you think about Batman, like that's just vigilantism and
Yeah.
fighting
Well,
crime.
sometimes they try to go into like the whole thing about how like is Batman really helping like the downtrodden masses and all that, but it's also like Bruce Wayne gives like billions of dollars every year to Gotham City is literally cursed by like a demon hole, and Bruce Wayne spends billions of dollars every year trying to like feed the homeless. Like he's doing his
Wait,
best, okay?
you said literally cursed by a demon hole.
Yes.
Is that like that's like well, we're diving back into Batman briefly. Are you telling me that literally there's some sort of curse on Gotham? That's
at
like
one
canon?
at one point there was. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but yes. That why
Cool.
Gotham is
Way to
so
go,
bad
DC.
it is literally cursed.
It's literally cursed by a demon. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's
and
not
then
the case
also
in
there's like
the book.
four different secret societies that all secretly control Gotham.
Hmm.
I gotta imagine if they butt heads with each other. Like
Yeah, you gotta
if
imagine. It's the
like
X-Men versus.
no, it's more it's
Uh,
like if Leviathan and the Court of Owls like don't agree on like the secret thing they're going to do with
hmm.
Gotham City, do they just agree with each other or not? I don't know.
I don't know, but I also don't want to get too deep into that
Yeah, it's right. We're on
when we're
X Men.
talking about the X-Men. Exactly, yeah. But I appreciate that they have like the Xavier and the Magneto duality in this as well. I think that that's one of the greatest sort of dualities that they have in
Yes.
comics is these two old friends, like old friends, who are both extremely powerful and who essentially have the same ideal, but want to go about it in two different ways.
Yeah, which
Um,
also it's like the idea that yeah, Magneto's a Holocaust survivor and that like changes how he outlooks stuff, whereas Xavier like grew up as a wealthy whatever with a guy who could like effectively he can hide his mutant powers.
mhm.
And then that's like the same idea of like the privileged member of a minority that doesn't go through the trials and tribulations of a lot of his other people do.
Hmm. Ooh, man. X-Men knocking it
Yeah.
out of the park as a commentary. Yeah. I mean, this one's pretty good. I don't think it's incredible, but I think it's good. And I think it's more, like you're saying, just that it really forged this thing because the X-Men stories that I don't know. I imagine that X-Men continues to be good in graphic novels. I mean, clearly people still love the X-Men with how they keep rebooting the franchise.
Yeah.
Uh,
Despite Marvel's attempts to kill them, the X-Men are still going strong.
what do you mean it attempts to kill them?
So circa like 2014 or so, Marvel basically tried to destroy the X-Men
Why?
because they didn't own the movie rights to them.
Oh,
So they were like, you know what? We don't need the X-Men. We're gonna make the Inhumans. They're gonna be our new cool. Like people are gonna love the Inhumans.
yeah.
So that began
Did
like
people
a
love the Inhumans?
people did not love the Inhumans. It began like a 5 year thing of them like relegating the X-Men to like terrible stuff that only really stopped like with the Krakoa era, what was I think 2019, and then now they're back and they're like huge. Yeah, but like
Hmm.
in the 90s, the X-Men were literally the biggest comic book characters out there.
Hmm. Well, interesting. Yeah, that they tried to get rid of it because they lost the movie rights.
Yeah, well now they have them back.
Wow.
So
Okay, God. And they're like, man, thank goodness the Inhumans failed. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
okay, wait. So was
Miss
that
Miss Marvel's like
around?
the only Miss Inhuman that actually got any amount of sway, and now she's a mutant.
There you go. And now she is a mutant. It all
Yeah.
comes full circle. Uh, because when did the most recent X-Men movies come out? The ones, I mean, I also realize they're probably older at this time.
So when you say most recent, do you mean First
Yeah.
Class?
Yeah, I mean first class.
First Class, I think, came out in either 2010 or 2011.
Oh man.
But then, then,
That
then,
movie's
like Days
still
of Future
new,
Past was a
right?
couple years after that, and then Apocalypse, and then Dark Phoenix Saga came out in I think 2018.
Dark Phoenix Saga. I don't know what that is.
That was the fourth of that of like the Michael Fassbender era X-Men movies.
Oh, I think I didn't even know that happened.
It's not a very good movie.
I think it's because I didn't finish Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I thought Apocalypse was so bad I stopped it. And so I had
Yep.
no interest in watching Dark Phoenix because of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which is too bad because the first one, X-Men First Class, I remember being extremely good.
Yeah. And then Days of Future Past is like even better.
Yeah. And then just falls off. But
Yeah. Oh, and then there was the Deadpools, and those were pretty good.
yeah, I mean the last Deadpool I was I can't remember if I had talked about it. I didn't like the last Deadpool. I
Like,
thought it
is it
was
Deadpool and Wolverine weren't a fan?
yeah, it wasn't for me. I think
I rather enjoyed it.
I think it's which is fair because I think it falls into like the member berries. They're
A
like,
little bit, but
remember.
also it's like a celebration of a like end of an era.
Hmm. Okay.
Like,
I can see it for that.
yeah.
I think that's also
Also, I
what
guess
I'm
here's the point.
saying.
Did you know going in all those people were going to be in it?
No, not all of them. Some of them.
Okay, yeah, because I was more or less like, yeah, I more or less had no idea what was going in. So that was great. No,
There you go.
but when the
The
first time when you see, yeah, well, I kind of figured what was going to happen with the Johnny Storm thing, but like, yeah, when Wesley Snipes shows up and all that, it's like, wow, they're actually doing this.
they're doing it. There you go. Going from X-Men and their third graphic novel all the way to Wolverine still being relevant uh
Yeah.
almost
All
50 years later.
yeah. Also, there was a technically the last one they made was the New Mutants movie that I've never seen. I don't think anyone else has either.
No, I can't imagine so.
Yeah.
But I mean
It has
certainly
Arya Stark's in it. Plays one of the mutants.
wow,
Plays
interesting because I feel like she's been in very much of anything. But I mean, at this point, it certainly sounds like we're kind of wrapping up and moving into our next.
But
we're,
actually,
we're getting into our next part of.
one thing I do want to talk about though, which I
Okay.
kind of alluded to earlier, which was Chris Claremont,
Yeah.
the writer of this. So what I say, like everything is Chris Claremont's, is like that's really the case. Like the X-Men were created by Stan Lee, but the X-Men weren't really created by Stan Lee. X
Mhm.
Stan Lee created like five random teenagers, and they didn't really have much. Like the stories didn't really have much going for them. It really wasn't until New X-Men in yeah in the 1970s that really create turned the X-Men into what we know as the X-Men. Like he added 7 new X-Men, including a little guy named Wolverine, which kind of changed everything.
Hmm.
Then plus also like Storm would joined them at that point, Nightcrawler and Colossus, and yeah, and it really, and like I said, brought in the whole. It took time, but like Magneto's backstory and all that stuff, really. So yes,
Wow.
Chris Claremont, kind of a legend.
Wanted to make sure to give him a shout out. I think that that's sometimes, unfortunately, often the case with Stan Lee. Like, no slander on Stan Lee's name. Like, obviously, he was extremely important to Marvel, but it often seems like I remember learning early on that Stan Lee sort of caused a lot of people who should have been given a lot more accolades and attention to sort of be shunted to the sidelines. Because
Yes,
that's like the same thing with Jack Kirby, right?
yeah, that's
Uh,
a little different because it's more that Jack Kirby did way more of the work on each of the comics that Stan like.
Yeah, but then for some reason it's Stanley's the one that everyone
Oh,
remembers.
I'll tell you why. It's because he was the editor. He was the guy who
There you
got
go.
he got to pick what got written on the comics. So clearly he's gonna so yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's the same with like Steve Ditko. That was another one, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
because which yes, Stan Lee took a lot of things, but also Stan Lee was a freaking madman. He was doing like 8 comics a month during his
right.
prime.
Yeah,
It's like, how on earth does anyone do like how does someone write like 8 comics a month? And
yeah.
so he had all his different art, like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and all those other people who were like doing the art for him.
Hmm.
And big part of that was he would like give them a general like idea of what was going to happen in the comic book, and then they'd draw it, and then he would fill in the dialogue afterward.
Oh, lame. And that's how he could play. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So I can understand why those individuals, I don't know what kind of relationship they had with Stanley, but I'm sure it would be if he's like sort of stealing all the attention and the thunder. I mean, I
yeah.
feel
Well,
like
it's Jack Kirby ended his career making working for DC, so that probably tells you a little bit about his relationship with
there
Stanley.
you go. Yeah, and I just reading here like Stanley and Steve Ditko deteriorated until Ditko eventually quit Marvel and went into hiding.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, interesting. The complex world of comic book drama. Yeah, you thought just comic book nerds got into high drama over the comics? Nah. It starts at their inception. No whether everyone's willing to die on a hill over their favorite superhero. Uh, well, I appreciate you bringing some extra attention to Chris Claremont. Uh, Super important to acknowledge those people that can have had a huge influence on comics and I mean a big piece of media as we know it today as well, which is kind of interesting to think
yeah,
about. That you sort of have this group of superheroes that have had cultural impact for what, like 60 years? That's pretty cool.
yeah. No,
Um,
yeah. As I mentioned, like they were the '90s were like the era of the X-Men. They were
mhm,
huge in the '90s,
mhm.
like absolutely massive.
There you go. And without Chris Claremont, without God Loves, Man Kills,
Yeah,
wouldn't have been the same.
it's all Wolverine, Canadian
Uh,
icon.
there you go. Yeah, it's all the Canadian icon Wolverine. Love
Yeah,
that. But to wrap it up, if you haven't had a chance to read X-Men God Loves, Man Kills, maybe go check it out. It's pretty interesting.
yeah,
It does have its intense moments, obviously, as I sort of mentioned during this, but it's if anything, it's reading it for its cultural role and what it means for X-Men as well as comics in general as well. I think it's kind of interesting to get some insights into the direction that comics and X-Men will go as a result of this graphic novel. But we already started to dip into it a little bit. Moving into our second part, Spence, we've been talking about a couple of the other stuff that we've watched that we enjoyed. But is there anything else that's front of mind that you've been consuming that you wanted to talk about?
I went and saw the Infinite Castle movie, Demon Slayer, Infinite Castle.
Hmm.
Yes, it's a good movie. I very much liked it.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, Demon Slayer, for anyone who knows anime, likely knows what Demon Slayer is. For those who don't, it's boy, it's kind of confusing at this point. At this point, it's
Kids got to kill the demons.
kid got to kill demons. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
the number one. It's kind of huge now. It is the number one comic book movie of the year.
comic book movie. Is that what
Yes.
it's called? A comic book movie?
Well, based on a comic, so and
Hmm.
it's made more than all the Marvel movies and Superman now. So,
Wow.
yep.
That's crazy. I mean,
Which
isn't it like the highest grossing animated film of all
anime
time?
film. There's still some
Anime
anime.
film.
There's still
Okay.
some animated movies that are ahead of it.
Got it.
Pixar has done some crazy stuff over the
Yeah, they've
years.
done some nuts numbers. Yeah,
Yeah,
that are
it's
gonna
the number
be hard
one
to surmount.
anime film. It's the number one Japanese film period in history.
Oh wow. Number one
Yeah.
Japanese film in history. That's crazy. There you go. The power of Demon Slayer. And does this wrap, I mean, don't spoil it at all.
No.
Because I don't, but does
Uh
this wrap up the story?
no. It's a three-part movie series.
And this is part one?
This is part one.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be seasons in between, or it's
No,
just
they're
gonna
just
be
doing
movies?
three movies.
And then is it over?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
because Demon Slayer the manga has been finished for like half a decade now at this point.
Interesting. When does the next movie come out?
I think it's next year.
Wow, I had no idea. That's super interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess it makes sense because the last season of Demon Slayer, you could sort
No.
of tell
Yeah.
they were biding their time. They were
This was
wasting
very
their
much
time.
like yeah, season four of Demon Slayer I think is very bad. Like,
Hmm.
but it makes sense. Okay, they just had to get through. Like, this is what they wanted to do,
Hmm.
and they were
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to get to there first. So they just made the like little. It's like eight. It was like so bad. It was like 8 episodes and nothing happened in any of them. It was,
It's true.
and I
Yeah.
guess, and also season three was like the weakest season before then, so that didn't help either.
Hmm. So it
But
needed this turnaround.
it really, yeah. So like this is easily the best thing since the second season.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah,
And so if you were a betting man, is the second one and the third one, are they going to be higher grossing or lower than this one?
that is always the question. Because I know as a rule of film, like how it always works is actual part twos never do as well as part one.
Hmm.
But then, like, if you just change the name sometimes, it's why they always try to avoid doing the part two, part one thing.
Hmm.
So it's like, notably, Endgame did a whole lot better than Infinity War.
Yeah.
So I bet you two will be worse, but three might be better.
Hmm. That's interesting. I bet you could be right, but ooh, okay. Well, clearly I need to. I thought it could be a season, but man,
Well,
I guess
they'll
brace for
probably
this
they'll probably release
considering.
it when it's all over as like a season because I know they did that for Mugen Train. Not that I ever watched it, but I know they
Hmm.
did that. So I don't know. And then also
Hmm.
probably like Crunchyroll will probably just have it on the season. No doubt before the next movie comes out, this one will be on Crunchyroll because they'll want everyone to watch it.
Undoubtedly. Okay. Uh, and I mean, something else to check out. Something to look forward to. But speaking of anime, I've been playing Hades too.
Bit
Uh,
of a segue there, but sure.
it's kind of anime. I don't know. Have
Yeah.
you seen the
Oh yeah, oh,
characters
absolutely.
before?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. So Hades 2, the sequel to the extremely popular Hades game, about what is that, Greek mythology and the children of Hades following their plot line. And in this one, it's the daughter of Hades trying to claim back the underworld from Kronos, the Titan of Time. Um, and they're action rogues, dungeon crawlers, which means that your abilities and your weapons and everything that happens changes each time, which I love. I think it's a great game. I think it's awesome, awesome. Uh, People are really big on it. I mean, it's early. It only came out like a week ago at this point. Uh, but I haven't bought a game close to release in decades. So that was pretty exciting. I bought it like 2 days after it came out.
It's not
So,
literal. You bought Tears of the Kingdom right when it came out.
oh yeah, that's true.
That was the last game you did. So that's not decades. That's still like
No,
3 years, but still.
yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, this one's awesome. People are talking about it already being up there for like potential game of the year.
It's
I'm
gonna be a strong year.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying that the year I obviously don't have many game systems other than Switch 2, so I don't know about all these other games,
No, you have
but
a Switch 2. You have a Switch 1.
oh yeah.
I'm the one with the Switch 2.
My bad. I only have a Switch, so I can't comment on the strength of the other stuff, but this one's a really good one. It's a lot of fun.
I've heard great things. I'm not really much of a roguelike player, but
It's not your thing, but
no.
yeah, no, I mean, it's genius. Also, they introduced a mana similar system, which just immediately adds an element to your game. So
Hmm.
smart to introduce that kind of thing. But yeah, love me a Hades too. Well, it'll for sure just consume most of my free time for a while. Um, but yeah, the only other thing I watched The Pit. I don't know. I don't know if that's like that's fully unrelated to anything we've talked about.
I don't even what
We've been
even is
talking
the
about all
pit?
these animated things. This is just the latest HBO Emmy
Okay.
nominating show about
Okay.
an ER medical system, an ER medical room,
Oh,
um,
it's set in Pittsburgh.
in Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's why it's
There you
called
go.
The Pit. But uh, I mean, it's HBO. It's HBO at its peak in terms of drama, high production quality, high, really
Yeah.
strong acting. So it's good. It's another great HBO show.
Yeah.
Uh,
Reminds me, I really need to start watching Peacemaker. Never.
season two is not as good.
Is
It's
it
a
not?
it's a hard drop. Yeah,
Mm, okay. Well, gonna watch it
but
anyway, probably.
yeah, as you should.
Ugh.
But yeah, the pitted. I mean, the interesting thing that you might find interesting as well is that it's 14 episodes, and each episode is an hour of time.
Oh,
So it's
24 style.
yeah, it's 24 style, which is super intense and interesting. And then how they also do it, because then you're like hearing about a patient that you won't see for a few episodes, or you see them in the waiting room and they'll eventually get into the back. So it's stuff like that, which is interesting the way they build it. But that's obviously very different from the other animated stuff we've been chatting about today. Um,
Well,
but
we're more than just an anime or whatever comic book.
yeah, exactly. We're people that consume media that have a fun time talking about it. That's exactly who we are. But speaking of other things that we enjoy and content that we can consume, we have another manga that we need to consume because Spence, as we wind down to the end of the episode, what do the fine folks and I get to look forward to reading next for the Long Comic Book Club?
Okay. Next week we're going to be doing Isak, a Japanese historical manga.
What is the spelling on Isak?
Issak. It's about
Isaac?
the Isak.
Isaac.
Sure, Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a manga about the 30-year war in Germany.
Oh, I don't know what that is. That sounds much more of a history majors kind of background.
Yes. Yeah, the 30-year war was basically like the war. Some people refer to it as the war between Protestants and Catholics, but it was really about the war about curbing Habsburg influence in Europe.
Sorry, curving what?
The Habsburgs. So the Habsburgs were like a family that at one point like controlled half of Europe.
Oh,
Yeah.
history class Spence.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Isak. And is this a
Yeah.
one shot? Is this a multi-volume thing? What is
It's a
this?
multi-volume thing. The first volume
Okay.
will be we'll just be doing the first volume. I think actually it is finished in Japanese, but it's still coming out in English.
Of
But
Isak.
it's about a Japanese mercenary in during going taking part in the 30-year war.
Uh, d- Is this historical fiction? Is this nonfiction?
It's historical fiction, but like Isak is not a real person, but like Japan like it's not entirely implausible for a Japanese guy to have taken part in the 30-year war.
Got it. Okay. I am extremely intrigued because this feels a lot of these I sort of feel like I know what's going on. I have no idea what is happening with Isak. I don't know what to expect. But if you're also curious about Isak and this Japanese retelling of the German 30-year war, well, go on down to Vesperia and pick it up if you're in the lower mainland of British Columbia, or maybe you also want to go to a library, or if you're not local and Canada Post hasn't come to reasonable terms yet, maybe there's another local
Hopefully, all this
place near
Canada Post
you.
thing is completely irrelevant by the time this comes out, but
Let's hope.
thinking it won't be.
Yeah, unfortunately so, because for whatever reason, companies don't seem
Yeah,
keen on paying or treating their workers
yeah.
fairly these days, unfortunately.
Solidarity. Yes, they have every
Yeah,
right to. But yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, it certainly feels like there's been like a strike, not just Canada Post, Air Canada, BCGEU. There's just a lot of
yeah.
unhappy
Times are tough, and people need
times
to.
are tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop trying to give all your money to your shareholders. Up with the proletariat, or whatever it is that they say. All of that to say, though, that is wrapping it up here for us at the Long Comics Book Club. And we'll call it there for episode 19 of the Long Comics Book Club. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow our Blue Sky Instagram for updates, as well as jump on that reopened Discord to share your own thoughts on X-Men God Loves Man Kills or next podcast's book, Isaak, in advance of the October 25th episode. And we will talk to you then. Bye bye.
See ya.